Hi everyone, this is Studio X, and today I will be showing you how to create a visually appealing title reveal only using one element. First, you're gonna need to open your After Effects and make a new composition. I'm going to make this 180 frames, and it's gonna be 1920 by 1080, and just hit OK. Now we're gonna make a background layer, which is just gonna be a solid color. So just choose Layer New Solid. Also make it 1920 by 1080, and hit OK. So I'm gonna go into Effects and Presets and type in Ramp, and choose Gradient Ramp. I'm gonna go and choose the ramp shape to be a radial ramp, and for the starter ramp I'm gonna bring it down right to the middle, which is 540, and just hit enter. I'm gonna swap the colors, and I'm just gonna move this corner out over here, and instead of white it's just gonna be a really dark gray. Now you're gonna need to make our text element, so I'm just gonna hit the text tool and type in reveal and choose any really thick font. So I'm just gonna choose Go Bold, and I'm gonna make it high bold, and I'm just gonna make it pretty big. I'm gonna go into Align, which you can go by going to Window and choosing Align, and I'm gonna center it in the middle, and I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger, and once again align it in the middle. If you hold Option and move the arrow keys, you can like nudge the text over so you can kern it better. And I'm just gonna bring the letters a little closer. Perfect, that looks nice. So I'm gonna go back to Align and make sure that it's centered in the middle, and this is gonna be our main text. And so what we're gonna need to do now is you're gonna need to make one element and repeat it through and give it some depth to reveal the text, and also to make the background and the foreground elements. So let's save our project. I'm gonna go to my desktop, make a new folder, and call it Reveal Intro, and call it Reveal. You can hide the text for now if you're not gonna need it, and go to Composition, New Composition, and just make it 1080 by 1080, and hit OK. So inside this composition we are going to make our element, which we're going to start layering and layering and layering on top of each other, and offset the timing and make it different sizes and different scaled. I'm going to make a square, but you can really use anything. You can make a triangle, you can make a circle, you can make it a pentagon, a hexagon. It doesn't really matter. But for this tutorial, I'm going to be doing a square. So I'm going to go into Layer, New, Solid, and I'm going to make it white. So I'm going to hit OK. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and make a mask. So I'm going to go and take my rectangle tool and double click on it. And I'm going to go into my mask properties and bring the expansion down so it doesn't take up the entire screen. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my mask. So by pressing Command D and having the mask selected, you can duplicate it. I'm just going to choose Subtract so I can cut a hole inside my already made square. So this looks like a pretty good shape. It's looking pretty nice. So what we're going to need to do now is we're going to need to animate it. So I'm going to go to frame 30, which is 1 second. And I'm going to keyframe the mask expansion on both of these keyframes, and then I'm going to go to the beginning, and I'm going to expand this all the way down to where it's a really small square, and then I'm also going to take this one just until you don't see the square anymore, so just until it disappears. So if you play it, you can see that the square is opening up, and then it's staying there. And I'm going to go to around frame 50, and I'm going to expand this mask to the end, and I'm going to bring this one out just until it disappears as well. There we go. So now, as you can see, we have a square that kind of comes out of nowhere and it's coming out, and then it disappears again by getting thinner. So I'm going to choose all the keyframes, and I'm going to right click on it, go to Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. So now when you play it back, it's going to be really nice and smooth. So I don't really like the way it's staying at the end there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this button over here, which is the graph editor, and I'm going to go to the mask expansion, and I'm going to click on the middle keyframe, and as you can see, it goes gradually up, and then it slows down, and then it continues going. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit convert selected keyframes to auto bezier, and it just expands and makes it a smooth motion. So I'm going to select the other mask expansion and do the same thing for that. So now when you look at it and you watch it play through, you see it comes out of nowhere and it gradually goes away. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to toggle switches and modes, and I'm going to press the motion blur button, and I'm going to enable motion blur. So now you're getting some slight motion blur on the edges over here. So now that we have our element made here, what we can do is we can rename this comp and name it element. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start making these elements smaller and playing within each other. So we're going to go into composition, new composition, and lock the aspect ratio and double its height and width. So it's going to be 2160 by 2160, and hit OK. Inside this, you're going to bring in your element, and I'm just going to scroll through to where it's in the middle. And I like the way it's looking here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this element, and I'm going to move it over to like maybe this corner over here, and I'm going to scale it down to 60%. So that's looking like a nice design. Then I'm going to duplicate this element here. I'm going to bring it to maybe this corner here, and I'm going to duplicate it again, bring it over to this corner, and duplicate it again, and bring it over to this corner, and maybe duplicate it one more time and bring it over to like over here. And I'm just gonna play with the sizes and make them all very different. And I'm gonna make another really tiny one, so I'm just gonna duplicate this, bring it over here, make it very small, so make it like 15. So that's looking nice. But the only issue now is they're all happening at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I can toggle all these switches down just so we can have all of our layers seen right here. And what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to randomly offset them, you know, to like random positions. It doesn't really matter as much as long as it looks like they're all doing individual things and not really depending on each other. So let's play this through and see how it looks. So I'm going to change the preview to B quarter so I can really see all these a lot better. So this is looking nice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to rename this combined 1. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate this combined one and go into it. I'm going to rearrange all of these elements. You kind of get the idea. Just really make it look random, make it look interesting and stylish. And once again, you're just going to have to like offset all these speeds and when they start, just so it looks a little more interesting. So if I play this through, as you can see, they're all coming out. And it just kind of looks like water ripples, you know. There we go. So you're going to need to make a couple of these different combined compositions. I'm thinking 5 will be good, and then I'll show you where we're going to go next. So once you have these different ones being set up, you're gonna enable the 3D layers, and you're gonna choose all these elements, go to P, and you're gonna offset their 3D positions as well. So you're just gonna go in and you're just gonna go and really randomize these. And the reason you're gonna do these now and not before is because if you did it before and you just copied and pasted them, you don't want them all to be within the same looking 3D space in the different compositions. So just like bring them in different depths, and bring some in and bring some really far out. Okay, perfect. So don't forget to save the project. Now what we're gonna do is we are gonna go into our original comp over here with the reveal text. What we are simply gonna do is we are going to enable the text, go to T, give it a 50% opacity, and bring all of your combined comps into here. Go to around frame 30 because that's when most of them should be happening. Yes, there we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale them and make them smaller. There we go. I am going to take each one and try to fit the text into it. So basically take all these comps and start overlaying them. So maybe size of 25 should be good. So I'm just going to take all these different ones and try to get them to cover the reveal text as much as you can. And you can duplicate them as many times as you want. So I'm going to duplicate this one and move it into the opposite side. And then I'm gonna duplicate this one and also bring it to like another side, and duplicate this one and bring it over here. I'm gonna take this one and bring it over here, but also rotate it 180 degrees so it's upside down, and put it over here. So just try to fill up the screen with a lot of different patterns. So that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to collapse all these layers here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select all these layers. I'm going to toggle the switch and make them 3D, and press, you see this gear over here, press this gear, and what that's going to do is enable the 3D layers within the 3D layers. So all the 3D stuff that we did inside here is going to come back, and we're going to see it in here as well. So I'm going to make a new camera, right here, new camera. I'm going to make the f-stop 1.8, and I'm going to make the zoom, I'm going to make the focal length something like 80. 80 seems good. So I'm just going to hit OK. And it's going to update. And what we're also going to do is we're going to enable the 3D on this reveal text. And now all these combined, we're going to combine these, pre-compose, and call it double combine. Okay. And we're going to hit the 3D, and we're going to hit the gearbox once again. Now, the reveal text, we're going to toggle the switch. For the double combined, if you select it, and go to track matte, and do Luma Matte Reveal, you're going to see that it is happening. What you're seeing is the reveal text. So that is looking nice because you're starting to see the text only using these patterns. And so I'm going to go into the double combined, and all of these are once again all happening at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in and offset them maybe by about at most 5 or 6 frames. So I can just push these around, but as long as they don't get offset too much, otherwise they'll be happening too far apart. This is looking pretty good. So if I play this through at quarter resolution, you're seeing that they're appearing. Right here. So if you're gonna go into our comp 1 and play it through here at quarter resolution, just so you can see what's happening. They're appearing and they're starting to reveal our text. So now that the text is almost showing up, right at the peak, what we can start doing is we can duplicate our text. So just hit Command D to duplicate it and make it visible. And what you're going to do, go to the text for T and make it 100% visible. So that way you're actually seeing all of the entire texture, basically. And what you're going to do for the other reveal is you're going to get a couple of these squares, square masks, and you're going to press on it and hold Option and Shift and Command, and you're going to make a couple of squares on the text over here. These look like pretty good locations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into each one and keyframe the mask expansion. And I'm going to press on the text and hit U so I can just see just those keyframes. And I'm going to make the opacity 100 so I can really see what's going on. And go back to U. I'm going to hide the double combined just so it's not getting in the way. And I'm going to bring these expansions down until I don't see the text anymore. So this right here, this one right here, this one right here, and this one right here. So I'm going to bring these back just slightly, and at around frame 60 I'm going to push each one out. There we go. And I'm going to push this one out, and I'm going to push this one out, and basically push each one out until they all connect together and reveal the text. So it seems like each one being at around like 370 or so gets most of the text covered. So there we go. So as you can see now, the text is being revealed here. And once again, I'm going to select all these keyframes and go into Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. So now if you reveal the double combined, what you're getting is you're getting the text coming out in the squares, and right at the peak it gets revealed. So let's play this at quarter resolution just so you can see what's really going on. There we go. So I'll offset these keyframes a little farther apart, and I'll make them happen at different times. So I'll start this one a little early, and I'll start this one a little later, and oops. Just so they're not all happening at the same time, and maybe expand on when they finish. So expand this one out, expand this one out. So this one seems to really get too big too fast. And once again, if you enable the motion blur and place it on this as well, it gives it a better look. There we go. So now that these are all going over each other, it's actually really nice if we go into the mask properties of each one and make the opacity 50 on each one. So that when they overlap each other, they actually reveal a lot more. So I'm going to go and expand this mask a lot more until it's over here, and then this mask more as well, just until it's touching the corner there. I'm going to expand this mask more as well, just to here. That's looking pretty good. And expand this mask farther more as well. And I'm just going to push these farther back as well. So what you're getting now is the text is being revealed very layered. So I'm going to start this a lot early, so when the peak is about to form, I'm going to push these back, and once again they're going to be offset slightly. There we go. And don't forget to save your project once in a while. And this is starting to look nice. There we go. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to animate a camera. So we're getting some more interesting depth in here. And we're also going to need to add a light. So we're getting some shadows in between all these layers. So let's make a light. Right here, a light. And make sure it casts shadows. And let's bring it in here. And let's go to position. And let's really push it back. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my element here. And I'm going to make it 3D. And in all of these combined, I'm going to enable the 3D. So I'm going to go into this combined, enable this 3D, go into this combined, enable this gear, and enable this gear. And now when I go into my element, I can go into the material options, and I'm going to cast shadows on. So I'm going to save, go back to my comp, and hopefully it's about to update. Let's see. There we go. Let's go into full resolution and see what we're looking at. So here's what we have currently, and let's go into our camera and start animating the camera in here. So I'm going to turn off the depth of field for now. The best way to animate the camera, in my opinion, is to connect it to a null. So I'm going to go into layer, new, null object, and I'm going to call it camera control. And I'm going to connect it to the camera control. So I'm going to make it a 3D layer. And for the final end, when it's revealed fully, let me make this quarter so I can see way better. So once it's revealed, until frame 140, it's going to keep getting pushed. So I'm going to go into scale, or position actually, and I'm just going to push it a little closer. This is probably the most I'll go, maybe a little farther back. Yeah, this is looking good. And I'm going to keyframe the position, and I'm going to go to the very beginning, and I'm just going to push it a lot further back, so maybe negative 700. So what we're getting is we're getting a camera motion coming in. There we go. So what we are going to need to do now is give it a little rotation as well. So at frame 130, the rotation is going to end. So the Z rotation, I believe. Yeah, so the Z rotation is going to be at 0, and I'm going to set the keyframe here. And at frame 0, I'm just going to make it something very slight, like -5. So it's nothing too crazy. Just very, very, very small, noticeable, but interesting. And I'm gonna select both of the keyframes and right click on them, go to keyframe assist, easy ease, and I'm actually gonna make sure that the rotation is done at 120. So I'm just gonna place it there, looking nice. And for the position, I'm gonna do the same thing with the keyframes. I'm gonna right click on them, and actually just the last one, just this one, and I'm gonna go to keyframe assistant, easy ease. That way, the first one, from the beginning, it seems like the camera's always been moving towards it. And I'm gonna do that just so I can fade into the intro. So now we're getting some really nice, interesting motions going on. So the text is being revealed, all these different things are going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna take both texts and double combined, and I'm gonna make sure that they start later, so I'm just gonna push them to frame 20. And now we're gonna start placing all of our other elements into the scene. So I'm gonna take a combined 4, I'm gonna place it into the scene, I'm gonna scale it down to 50, or actually maybe 30, and so here it is. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide the reveal and the double combined just so they're not getting in the way. So I'm gonna take this combined, I'm gonna bring it over here, I'm gonna hit P, make it 3D, hit the little gear, and I'm going to in the position, I'm just going to push it forward a lot, like a lot, and just place it in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate it, move it over to this corner, rotate it 180 degrees, or just 90 degrees. Yeah, that seems good. Put it almost off to the frame, bring it even closer. And just move it over here. So we're gonna need to move the light a lot further back because right now it's not far enough. It's not even lighting up a lot of the elements. So I'm just gonna move it all the way back here, and that's looking good. I'm going to save. And so most of these elements are going to be out of focus, so you won't even see them. And then I'm going to start bringing in all these other combined elements. So combined 3, and I'm going to scale it down again to like something like 20. And I'm going to go to the 3D and enable the little gear. And I'm going to go into the position and push it into the other direction. So now it's very, very far in the back. So, and I'm just going to put it over here. And you'll just have to do that with a lot of the different combined elements. So basically make it 3D, press the gear, scale it down, move it to somewhere where you'd want it to fill up a space over here, and really start layering them on top of each other. So now that we have some elements in this scene, let's close these down so they're not getting in the way once again. close these down, and let's turn on our double combined and reveal 2. And don't forget to offset all these different combined ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get the focus to be on this revealed over here. So I'm going to go into my camera settings. I'm going to go to my camera options, and I'm going to enable depth of field. And once I do that, I'm going to start bringing the blur level a lot. So we're going to start to get a lot of the elements out of focus. So I'm going to bring it to like 600%. And now you're starting to get a feeling of where the depth of field is starting to happen. So I want it to happen on the reveal text. So I'm going to start playing with the focus distance and trying to get that object in focus. So I'm just going to try different values like 1200. Let's see. 4000, 6000, 5000. So 5000 we're getting closer. Let's try 4500. So that seems like that's most in focus. And I'm just going to bring the blur level down now to 300. And the aperture to 260. There we go. So we're starting to get some nice blurred out elements in here. That is looking good. That is looking nice. And then when the text finally gets revealed, we see it right here. So let's make sure that the text is in focus at the end. So we're going to go into our camera once again and try to get the focus distance correct. So I'm going to keyframe the focus distance here, and then I'm going to push it back and try to get it in here. So there we go. So now when it's pulling in, it should be more or less in focus. And now let's do some color correction to get this to look nice, and then add a lot more elements in here that are going to be in this scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all these different combined ones, save, go to layer, pre-comp, and call it main layers, and just hit OK. And make sure they're in 3D and with the different depths. So now you're getting all the depths back in here. And what you're going to do with this next is you're going to duplicate this layer, go into effects and presets, and do fast blur, put it on these layers, and make the blur 80. Then you're going to toggle the switches, and instead of normal, you're going to do screen. There we go. So as you can see, you're getting a nice blur going on. There we go. And I'm just going to duplicate it one more time and change the blurriness to 20, maybe 30. 20 is looking good, and we're going to change that to add, so you're getting a nicer highlights on there. There we go. So, and for these double combined, we're just going to go into glow and bring this glow on top. And there we go. So let's take a look at this in full quality. Perfect. That is looking nice. So let's start doing some color correction to this. What we're going to do is we're going to like I showed in a previous tutorial, you can just go to Google and type in anamorphic, let's see, anamorphic lines, and I'm just going to bring these in, bring it on top, And I'm gonna right click, go to transform, fit to comp. Now you're getting anamorphic lines here. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to layer, new adjustment layer, bring it under here, save, and I'm gonna bring in some grain, so add grain. And the biggest thing where I'll be looking for the grain is, let's take our preview region and move the center to where we are seeing all the blurring. So I'm just gonna put the center in here, because the main thing I'm gonna need to look at is the gray areas. So the size, I'm gonna half the size, so it's gonna be 0.5, and the intensity is gonna be 0.3. So that's some nice textured looking grain, so that's gonna look very nice with our look. As you can see, this grain looks very nice, and it just kind of throws away the cleanliness of this entire scene. So let's go into final output and really see how this is looking. Yes, the grain is adding a very, very nice look to this. So I'm going to rename this adjustment layer to grain, and I'm going to turn that off because I don't want to slow down the renders. Then I'm going to take this main layer, glow, and let's rename them. So I'm going to take this main layer and call it main glow, and then I'm going to call this highlight glow. Perfect. And what I'm going to want to do now is I want to give a color to this. So I'm going to go to layer, new adjustment layer. I'm going to call this CC for color correction, and I'm going to bring it under the anamorphic crop. I'm going to go to effects, color correction. Let's choose photo filter, and instead of warming filter, we're going to choose a cooling filter. There we go, we're getting a nice color, except let's check through the different cooling filters. This looks like it's going to be a very good color. Yes, we're getting a nice cold tone. It's a little intense, so I'm going to change the density to 15%. There we go, that is looking nice. So the main thing we're going to need to do now is we're going to need to take all these different elements and continue adding them to the scene, so they're flickering on and off and coming in and coming out and coming out and coming back in throughout this project. So I'm gonna turn off the color correction, turn off the anamorphic flares, I mean the anamorphic crop, and I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna go into my camera settings, and instead of the iris shape being a fast rectangle, it's gonna be a hexagon. There we go. And I'm gonna turn the depth of field off for now. Actually, I'm gonna keep it on, and I'm just gonna turn off the camera layer. And I'm gonna switch the preview to quarter. There we go. So now I can align all these different elements in the scene, and I'm just gonna turn off the highlight glow, and I'm gonna turn off the main glow. So let's go into our main layers and start adding more. So I'm going to take all of these, duplicate them, offset them a lot more, and rotate them all by 180. And I'm going to move all of them down. And we should be good at this point. So now let's go back to our comp 1 and see how things are looking. So let's turn our camera on and check this out. Beautiful. This is looking really nice. So let's enable all of these different things that we need to see, and the grain and the color correction and the anamorphic. Okay, so this is looking really nice. So let's get to the render settings and render this beauty out. Go up to File, Export, Add to Render Queue, and in the output module, click on Lossless. In the output, go to Format Options, and if you're on a Mac, you'll be able to choose Apple ProRes. If you're on PC, well, I'm sorry for you. You could just do like an MP4 or something, but I really like rendering out to Apple ProRes. There is no audio, so you can just do audio output off. In render settings, this should be good. Quality best, resolution full, no proxies, current settings for effects, current settings for solo switches, guided layers all off, color depth current settings, use the comp's frame rate, frame blending on for checked layers, field renderer off, motion blur on for checked layers, time span, work area only. Okay, and let's give it a name. So I'm gonna go into here and just give it a folder, call it reveal, create, and call it reveal intro, no sound. And now you're good to press render. Before that, I'm gonna go into my element, and yes, so the motion blur is set, so we're good to go. Now we can hit render, and the render will be done, and everything's gonna look beautiful, hopefully. If you like this tutorial, make sure to leave a like. If you have any issues with the project, make sure to leave a comment. I'm starting a new series where I do feedback and critique on people's work, so if you want to be included in this new series, make sure to comment below and tell me which video you want me to check out on your channel to review and give my critique on how you can improve it. Other than that, I have some new tutorials coming out soon. I will be out of town for maybe a week, but I'm gonna try to still make some videos and upload some kind of content. Other than that, that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.